let's create a React project, and I'd be using create React app. And before this whole thing starts, I just want to clarify that it is necessary for you to know a bit of React. All right, so let me just go ahead and go into my command prompt and create React app tic-tac-toe. Now this is one of the experiments that I'm doing, and this would encourage me to go for more applications like games on Twitch, like creating games on Twitch. That will be even helpful for the people who want to learn and the people who want to use it. So I would also be creating a GitHub repository of this particular game that we are creating. Let's wait for this to get done, and in the meantime I'd also create a repo, a GitHub repo. Let me just open up my browser. Okay, let's go for github.com. I'll be creating a new one. We'll call it tic-tac-toe React. Okay, this would help one clarify the basics of React and Redux. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so once that is done, we would like to go for get something out of the way. Let me just do some documentation so that we can actually get some idea on what we are exactly going to go for. So what we are going to go for is first, obviously there are certain steps that we would like to go for. One is obviously set up the React application. Second would be to create certain components, create components. And third would be to set up the store. And then we would like to add some logic to it. So then start writing gaming logic. That's what it is. So this is what we would like to go for. The whole idea of doing this is mainly having the developer, or mainly getting the developer an idea on how to go for React and Redux through simple examples, and hence more complicated examples can be carried out. These are just like starting steps, and it is fun as well. I mean, creating small games and then moving to bigger games, it's all good. The main aim also here is to learn Redux a bit more than what a normal program would be. I might not be using the all the features of Redux, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, we don't know how this whole thing would pan out to be, how many features would we add. Speaking of which, I'll just list down the features of the game. So what we would like to go for is the tic-tac-toe features. Obviously, player should be able to select the either X or O. Maybe a player should be able to select the symbol, right? And other than that, winning, it has to be a 2-player game first off. So I'm not thinking of implementing the CPU versus the player. Maybe later we might also go for that. But at this point, I just want it to be a 2-player game, and we might just go for, first we'll go for pass and play on one single system, and then we might also try to incorporate the server-side interactivity and then have the system work on different computers through a server. But as of now, only pass and play. the 2-player game, and we would like to go for a player should be able to select a symbol. Player should then both the players would play it, and both players would play on the same computer. And then at the end, either it's a draw or either one player wins. So at the end, all right, at any point we should be able to reset the game. All right, and we would like to also get the whole yeah, reset the game. That'll be fine, right? Reset the game or a new game. New game could be created. Right, so this is what we are starting off with. So let's start. Let's cd into tic-tac-toe and yarn start. And at the same time, I would also open this up in my editor. Let's try and see what components we are going to create. But I think we should be able to create maybe a board first off, and a board has to have the cells, you know, so squares, basically the board and the squares. So the structure of the components would be something like this. So here are the components that I want to go for, and at any point of time I'd always go for the UI first. That would give you a very good picture, since that we are not actually developing any serious project. So I'd just go for the UI first. So the components would be, we would like to have a board would have squares inside of it, and board can also have, or maybe different, like other than that we might also have a cross and 0. I'm naming it cross and 0 because X and O might not be good component names. So cross and 0. I don't know if I should keep it inside square or not. If I keep it inside square, it would justify, because to justify the whole, yeah. So I think it should be inside square. Cross and O, cross and 0 would be inside square. Okay. So this is what we should have as the component structure. We'll just get rid of whatever we don't want. We are not going to go for testing in this particular application, so we just go for we'll just get rid of that particular test file. So let's just get rid of app.test. App.css, I think we would need it, but we don't need any styling as of now, so we'll just keep that. We don't need any logo, we'll just get rid of the logo. All right, and we would like to get rid of the header. As of now, just app works, and we don't need to have any, we don't need any class name as of now. We might just go for component or some bootstrap related class later. As of now, we don't need anything. What else? Yeah, we don't want this logo, we can get rid of the logo. We can put the app.css here. So import app.css, and index.css definitely, but we don't want that basic styling, so I'll just get rid of everything. And let's get rid of logo. We can delete logo. Oh, I did delete something else, probably, no worries. So as of now, oh, I did delete service worker. Let me just restore it from the recycle bin. I just moved it to the recycle bin. I'll just restore it. It is an important file as far as the React project is concerned. We'll just keep it. I mean, we're not going to what it is and all. Okay, cannot app.css. Inside the app.js, it should be /app.css. And yes, app works. All right, so we have this basic structure, and now we'd go for the components. So let's go for the components. I'll create a folder called components, and components would have board. Do I create a file? No, actually I'd create a folder in which there will be the board component of its own. So board board.jsx, and we would inside, and this is the structure that we want to follow: board, squares and zeros, and like cross and zero. So square actually should be square. It's only one component and we're going to repeat it. So board square Now, the whole idea of having a folder and a component file inside a folder is basically to get the possibility of having test files and CSS files of the specific components within themselves. So that's the whole idea. 0 shall have a new file, call it 0.jsx, and inside the square we'd have cross. So basically the board component would be called inside the app component, and then the squares would be repeated inside the board, and then cross and zero. That's the whole idea that we need to go for. So let's go for the let's just go for creating these components. And I might just start off everything as a functional component. So I don't know if I would need a class component at this point in any of the boards or any of the component files. I'll just go for import React from React, and function board board props. We'll just take in props any which way. I mean, we would like to have props at any point of time. So board props, and as of now it returns a paragraph saying board works, and export default board. All right, and we would do the same thing with the square, and also I'll just copy this. Also cross and zero have cross works. Zero works. All right, so once we're in at this point, we would like to go for calling these things. So first, as I said, like I just want to get the UI right, so we'll just call everything inside app.js. I would import board port components board.jsx. I just follow this practice where all the components, like all the JSX file, I specifically go for the JSX extension, while any JavaScript file would just be with no extension. So as of now, I mean, we don't it's not compulsory for having a JSX file to, we don't need to specify JSX extension in a sense. So that, and let's just let's just have this div to have a class name container, and here I just go for board. All right, should give me board works. Yes, it does. And I would just go for bootstrap. One way, of course, of going for bootstrap is a CDN, which is not a big deal. So I mean, which is also a valid way. So get bootstrap should give us the CDN. I just want the CSS, nothing else. So I can go into the public index.html and provide in. This is the file that we are seeing there. You see div id root is the one that is populating the whole React application. So let's close it out. Once we do that, it should give us, yes, a component structure and board works. So that is fine. Now internally, what we would need inside is I would need a div with a class called row, just to hold the bootstrap standards. Another div with a class call. We would like to go for call md 6 and offset. I want this whole thing to almost be like look like centrally aligned. So offset md, let's start with 3. Let's see what that gives us. So when we do that, let's see if this this looks central. So let's see if we can make it actually look centrally aligned. We'll close this. I mean, we'll minimize this whole folders. I would like to have some CSS inside this board.jsx, which are specific to this board itself. We would like to have a border, of course, to this whole component. We would definitely like to have a div with a class name row and div board. The board has to have many squares. All right, so I would just like to import the square component in here, and I would like to just repeat that. So import square from square square dot jsx, and I'd just like to repeat the square 1 2 3, something like that. Later on I may just think of making the whole thing based on the React array, or based on the Redux array, or the general global store array. What I can do is go for something like a const board is equal to 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. I would definitely like to work on it once we integrate Redux. So board dot map, map should have nothing actually. You can just go for square. All right, board.map square 9 times. That should work. I would like to get this from Redux. Later, once we integrate Redux to it. Okay, so I get this. So let's work on the square now. So square, it's a paragraph, and instead of a paragraph it has to be a div. Go for a div, and it has to have a class call md4. That'll give me 3 squares per row. Yep, That's what we exactly want. And we would like to have some margin top the board itself. All right. Now I think we can start by setting up the styling of the board first, and we'll just give it some borders. So what I'll do is I would like to go for creating a new file, board.css, and I might just go for a class name or an ID for that. I mean, we might never use this ID in React, but only for CSS. Board would be let's say border 1 pixel solid gray or light gray. All right, let's see if we get anything. Some error. Oh, this one. Yeah, we'll just fix that. For that, we have an ID board. We don't have any styling. That's because we have not included this styling. So let's include that. Import board.css should give us a border. All right, that's fine. And we would also like to go for a key. At this point I'd have to go for the index, so let's go for it. So let's say element and index key is equal to I. This is the classic JavaScript map method. All right, so once that gets done, I think we should get rid of the whole error goes in this case. Yep, there is no error in the console, so that is fine. I would like to fix the mobile layout later, and I might not go for any extra styling. I'll just go for the bootstrap styling. So as of now, we'll just work for the web layout, and I'm sure that the mobile layout would be fixed once we go into bootstrap. So this gets done. Square works, and square either should have a cross or a zero. So how do we do that? Let's first have a cross in here for everything. All right, so let's just go for a cross, and instead of the paragraph, just have we can have a div, and the div can have a text aligned center. This should work. I'll just put X in here, and maybe I can just give some styling to that, and that'll be fine. So class name or ID, or not ID, not class name, cross. Now board can have an ID, by the way, because there will be only one board. I might not go for IDs for squares or even IDs for zeros and crosses, because board is only one. It can have an ID. So cross would have a class name cross, and that will be it. So I don't think I even need this brackets. I'll just give it this one, right? And we would take this cross into our square. I'd import cross from JSX, and we would go for And it should have another class name. We'll call it, I guess, text center in Bootstrap does it. See? Yep. And then the cross class should have let's have another class in here, and cell. I don't think cell is having any effect as far as Bootstrap is concerned, so we would like to make some changes in the cell. And cell is a global class, so I would just put it in here because I want cell for all the all the cells. Dot cell. Border 1 pixel solid white gray. And height 100 pixels and width 100 pixels. Okay. This also tells me that I should go for a flex rather than this row column layout. Board JSX for a class for a deflex. I do that. Flex doesn't have a row. Let me get rid of the row, and also let me get rid of the columns. Yep, this is what I exactly want actually. The only thing is, like, I would like to have only three cells per flex. Okay, this looks okay, but I would like to adjust some width out of it. See. Oh, 300 pixels. The reason is, like, the boxes are 100 by 100, so all right. Go for a cell, and I can get rid of the cell in here. Okay. And a bit, because of the border incorporation over a core width 6, 304. Or 2. Yep. And this is because that extra, see, the thing is, the calculation goes like this. The cell, which is here, it is 100 by 100, so 300 it should be the width, but because of those extra borders of 1 pixels each, I'm just going for those 2 pixels extra, so we get the eventual result like this. All right, so now what we can do is we can have a cross.css. We do cross. I think we can have another CSS or another style in here. We can go for a symbol, because most of the, like, width or maybe the height or line height and all, that will be all same for all the symbols. So I can go for a line height to be 100 pixels. Let's see what we get. Should be vertically center, if that works. Nope, it does. So, oh, maybe I didn't go for the symbol, so let's go for cross symbol and text center. This should get me some, yep, vertically lined. And we might also like to go for font weight bold. Oh, there. Font weight bold and font size 20 pixels. 24 pixels. And let's try and do the same thing for 0. At this point I don't even think this cross class would be necessary. I'll just keep it as symbol, and I'll try to do the same thing for 0. So I'll just copy this, and actually it's O that I'll go for, but 0 because, you know, naming it o.jsx might just not work. All right, so once that is done, I just go into the square and import, or maybe we can just put cross here. I'd import 0 from 0/0.jsx, and instead of cross I can just go for zero. The font sizes are really small, right? Just have 32 pixels. Let's see what we get. Not do any harm that way. Okay. And the square we can go for this seems okay. Now I can just you know, have a combination of cross or 0 for a while. The board E and just temp, a property called temp. It'll just give you 1 2 3 4 5. I just want to see how it looks when all this zeros and x's go ahead and, you know, form themselves. So inside the square I'll just yeah, board.jsx, we are passing temp or sequence. Maybe I'll just remove it in a while, but I'm just passing in this so that we can make some decisions. So what we can do is, if props.seq modulo 2, if it is that, so, and then we can go for cross, or we can go for 0, just to see how it looks when everything is populated. Right. It looks okay. All right. So the UI is done, and now I think we can go for like this is the primary UI, and you know, then adding on different features like a user can select what symbol he or she wants and all can be done. The logic of CPU playing against a player can be done. There are so many things that can be done. As of now, this is the basic idea. So for the starters, the board has to be empty. There would be squares, but the squares might not have crosses or zeros. And as the user clicks on the squares, we just have some crosses, zeros appear. That's what I want as a functionality. Remember, I'm still it's still left to create. We're still to create the whole Redux store for this. But what we would do is we'd just go for the display first. So inside the square class name cell, we can go for the cell class. Now, see, the thing is, like, what I can do is I can just move this away here, because anyways I'm going for this whole CSS to be a common thing. So I can just delete this board.css and I can take it away from here, so that only for one board.css. I don't want to mess things up. So now in the index.css we have a cell, we can have a cursor pointer there. What this would do is this would just display a hand symbol, a symbol like a clickable symbol whenever we are here on any particular item. Do we want to change the background? Yes, we would like to change the background. Light gray to gray. It actually has to be light gray. I don't know how it would look, but let's see. Yep, looks okay. All right, so this gets done. Let's just close it out. We would like to install Redux. We would also like to go for React Redux, yarn add Redux, and I'm literally typing in and React Redux. Let's wait for this to get done. By the way, as of now, what I'm picturing is the shape of my store should be something on the lines of this. My store has to be an array, and it should either have null, or at the start it will be null, and null 9 times, and then we can go for either the string x or the string o, or we can go for 0 and 1. But then the problem is, like, if I go for 0 and 1, null at times is considered 0, we might have to go for some explicit checking anyways. So here is my store, like either 9 times null, so initial value would be something like this, an array 9 times null. And then once we go into the project, when we develop certain systems where the user might want to select what symbol he's willing to play with, then we can go for some player 1 and player 2, and then we can combine reducers and all. As of now, it'll be just one simple reducer, which should be a root reducer, and we do the same thing, right? See, yep, we have all this installed, and let's just set up our reducer first. So reducers, and we would go for code reducer.js. We'd also need an index.js here. This might, yeah, I think potentially we would combine reducers, so I would definitely like to combine reducers, see what happens here. That, and we would also like to go for actions. Board actions, and action types as well. So I would like to go for helpers, action types. The action types could be this: const display x or draw x, right? Export this and export const draw y. Draw x, draw y, and later we would also like to have reset board and all. right? So these could be two action types, draw X and draw Y, right? And then we'll go for actions. From helpers action types. So what I'm thinking is, like, these would be action generators, of course, but when the type would be draw X, we would like to have the payload being passed on which cell are we drawing that X. So our cell can be numbered from 0 to 1 or 0 to 9 or 0 to 8. Yeah, our cells can be numbered 0 to 8, and we would either draw X or draw Y. So a function draw X action, which would have the cell, and we would return type draw X and cell, and we'd export this one and export function draw Y action cell, and I would like to return type draw Y cell. This should be good. Meanwhile, let us just do one quick thing. Let me just get this whole tic-tac-toe exported. I'll just keep this running. This had to be done earlier, actually. That's fine. No, we've not done much, so it's fine. So let me just verify. We have enough. Later I'll just modify this npm, or sorry, this readme and all. Let's see what we have. Which dependency? Oh, interesting. But anyways, we are not in for something serious. Otherwise, I would like to. I would have investigated this one. Like, what is the problem and all. But yeah, let's just be with it for a while. And draw action. That is fine. Let's go into our reducer, board reducer, and we would like to. So basically, the state of my shape would change. By the way, it would be an object which would be having board and this whole array. That would be it. All right, so let's import the actions draw X and draw Y from I do draw X and draw Y. And go for helpers action types, and we'd go for also export function board reducer state and action, And initial state would be 9 null values, and we'd go for a switch. Action type, we would also like to go for a case draw X, case draw O, and default would go for return state. Now action, when we go for it, we already have that cell which is an index, by the way. We can call it cell index because it is not the actual cell, it is actually the cell index. So we would like to go for that cell index, right? We already have that index, so we can easily go for the current state or the new state to be the current state, but in which there will be only one change, that will be the index, and that will be changing. So I would like to go for, say, new state equal to state, and new state, this would create a copy new state, by the way. We would not do the same thing with a reference. That would not be legal as far as Redux is concerned. So we would like to go for new state is equal to X. Right, and return new state. Right, similarly we'd like to go for O, that is the capital O, and return a new state. And then we would like to, do the combine reducer thing. So import combine reducers from Redux, and we would like to export default combine reducers, board, and a board reducer. Board reducer would have to import, so import board reducer from board reducer. And later there will be more things like more like players or selections and all coming. As of now, this is what we are trying to create as our state, and that is what it is. All right, so this combine reducers exports our root reducer, and then we would create a store. I would create a store as a separate file and go for a store.js, and we would import create store from Redux and root reducer. So we would import root reducer from reducers, and we'd go for export default create store root reducer. Right, so that will export our store, and inside this index I would just go for importing the store. So import import store from store, and we would also like to import provider from React Redux. All right, and we would like to go for the have to be declared in a way where we would like to have the provider provide the store to the app. So it will be provider and we would have store and store in here. Also, if I try to do a store.getState, should get something in the console. Let's see what we get. Import in the body of the module, reorder. Oh, which file? Let's do one thing. The whole thing is like if we want to go for ES6 imports, all imports have to be at the top, and then and only then some other lines of code can be written. So right, it already been declared. Yeah, definitely. Can name it new X state. And new O state. Okay, so I think action types itself has some problem in here. Yep, I did a draw by. Unbelievable. Let's go for it. Okay, so this is fine. Let's just check out our console. I get an object, has board null elements, all the 9 of them are null. Good. So now I have the store passed. Let me just close everything up. Now what I want is, according to the store, the board should react. So the board reducer, I'll just check by passing in, some things like X's or O's one after the other. And I would like to, I would like the board to react that way. So before that, I have the store in here. I'd have to make, I would have to make this one reducer that, or this one would be something that would interact with our Redux application. This should be a container component, right? And then we can just pass in inside the square, we can just pass in that whether it is X or O that we want to display. And then I can get rid of the sequence. We don't need this. All right. I'd have to import connect from React Redux. Connect. We would like to have the state in. So I would take the board property from the state and I would go for returning an object which presents the property like this. Now what I'm missing, yeah, so here I can go for props.board. Right. Now the thing is, like, sequence would all have nulls, all right? So if I go into the square and if I don't have to do this, I can just check. I can display props dot sequence. It'll just display null. I don't think it'll display anything at all. Yep, it displays null. The array of board is nulls and it'll display null. I would like to get rid of this console log. We don't want this anymore. So instead of sequence, I'll just say symbol. I can just name it a symbol actually. Symbol is symbol, and what I'll do in here is I would go for a conditional render anyways. It would be a pretty complex expression, not that complex, but it'll be just somewhat a complex expression where we'd have to check if I can first get this symbol from here. Const from props. If symbol is there, this is the same thing that I'll be doing. Like if I'll say this, and a symbol is equal to x, then go for cross, else go for 0. This seems okay. Now I should not get any warnings, and moreover, if I change my state to something like my initial state here, if it becomes x at the center, I should expect x at the center. Yep. And if it has O at the start or at the end of the first row, I should expect O at the end of the first row, like so. Right. Right, so this works, and I would like to now go for that click event. So at this point, this draw x and draw 0. I name it draw y. I don't know. Draw 0 action would come into the picture, and I'd also like to have cell index over here. That is clicking on each cell. We would like to, draw x and draw O. All right. So square on click is what we are looking for. And we can go for a click handler. I would have to go for connect first. I would like to go for connect first. And we would like to go for import connect from React Redux. We don't want state in here. We want dispatch yes. And I would like to go for draw to be a function. And what to draw should come from Redux. Okay, cool. So this draw should dispatch an action. It should be a function. The action should be either draw x or draw 0. All right. Okay, so we can do that. Like the problem is like the current symbol to draw, or whose turn is it, is something that our store should decide, and our store should have that variable across or passed across inside this particular square. That's what we want. And then this draw has to be there. But as of now, what I would do is I'll just dispatch a draw X action, and in which I would like to pass in the cell index. So it should be index, or we can call it cell index. Cell index, and we would like to pass in the cell index through the properties. So we would go to the board, X key we would not get there. I mean, it is purely for React, so we would not be able to get the key in there. So I'm just going for index, and inside my square I'll just take an index as well as a property, and on click I would like to draw and a cell index. I would like to pass in some other argument as well, to like what to draw, whether to draw across or to draw a zero. But that would come in. That would require some more integration on Redux side. So as of now, I'll just do this. Right. So index, and it'll draw X action on this particular cell index. What I'm hoping here is that when I click on this, draw gets dispatched, draw X action gets dispatched, and I get an X. Oh, that draw is not defined. Okay. Preprops.draw. All right. Yep. So that is working as we want it to work. All right. So now I can also, by the way, I can also go for draw O action. O action, by the way. I'd have to just import it. All right. Yep, that works. And we need to figure out whose turn it is. All right. And there are now certain more properties that we need to go for inside our store. Let's see. As of now, our store is just board. I would also like to have a property in which like player 1 and player 2, something like that. P1, player 1 would be good. Which symbol did the player 1 choose? Right, plus current turn. This is a store that we would like to go for. Player 1, player 2, current. I can just go for P1, P2. Something like this can be done. All right, and winning or win would be null. And draw would be null. Either one of them would happen. Or maybe, yeah, this could be the data actually. Draw false. Win would either be P1 or P2, and draw would be false by default. It will be true if the match is drawn. That's what I want as my state, right? So we would like to have players reducer. So this will be something like this. And result. This also goes inside players reduce. This would be something that would be ideal. Current turn, the result. So board reducer, yes. Then we'd have a players reducer, and then we'd have a result reducer. Okay. So if that is the case, then what would be the players actions? So let's just go with the actions in here. Some things on the lines of having our action types. What do we think our action types would be? Draw X, draw O, that is fine. We can have an action type called player 1 X, which would mean that player 2 would be O, and the turn would always be player 1. All right. So export const PLAYR player X, or player 1, what does he choose? Or player X, who is the player? You can go for player X. And the whole what I'm trying to do here is player X, I would fire in an action, and which player is player X is what I would like to show, and then I would go for the other player to be the other one. I would also export const turn, whose turn it is. All right. I think these two action types would be enough. So let's try and go for these two first. I'd go for player actions. So the thing is, like, what I want here is when I click on a square, click must happen, and the turn should change from one to the other. And I think I don't think thunk is still required, so I'll just keep it to it. So player actions, I'd import what do we import? We'd go for player X, and we'd also go for the turn from helpers action types, and export function player selection action, I guess. Select player action, select player action, and select player action. And what we would like to go for as an argument is which player has selected X. Yeah, that would be it. So the thing is, like, I don't want the select X player, select Y, select O player action. So I can just go for select X player action. I'll just pass in player, which would either be P1 or P2. And the other would be O. So that is what it is. So I'll return type to be player X and player. Well, actually, because I'm not using thunk, I might not be able to dispatch anything. So I'd also have to export function, and all the types would be also there. So let's just go for player O type, an action type to be player O. All right. Code function select O player action, which should return type player O. That would be imported and there. So both these actions would be dispatched from the components. Because I'm not using a thunk action, I don't want to use thunk in here. Doesn't actually make any sense. All right, this gets done, and I would also like to have one more action here. To whose turn is it? Whose turn is it? So export function turn action, and what we would like to do is we would like to just toggle the turn. So I'll just say toggle turn action, and I'll just return. I think that would be enough because in reducer we anyways have the state. We can go for a not operation and or something like that, and then just toggle the turn. So type turn. All right, and then we would go for, I think these three are enough, and yeah, this is what we want. So what we would like to go for is we would like to have users will have a layer reducer.js, we should import those action types first. So let's just import those. The reducer state and action. What do we think the initial state would be? We can have player 1 to be X, player 2 to be O, and turn player. That could be the initial state. That could well be the initial state. So we can do that. Const state is equal to player 1 to be X, player 2 to be O, and turn P1. So the state is initial state. And we can go for a switch. So what are the cases? If it is player X, if the case is player X, this is while selection, by the way. So if the case is player X, then what we would do is we would like to go for const new X state. Same thing that we did with the board. Is the state, current state, and then new X state player if player equal to P1, then new X state dot P1 is equal to X, new X state dot P2 is equal to O, and turn or new X state dot turn is equal to P1. Yeah, so it's obviously P1. So and return new X state. Case player O. By the way, we'd also have to go for else. So this is where this is the only specific case where thunk would have been helpful. I don't want to use thunk only for this particular case. I'll do this, the same thing. These are the symbols, by the way, so all right. I'm just toggling the turns, so it'll be by the way this O state, new O state here everywhere, otherwise it'll give us an error that like it did the other time. Okay, so const new state could be fine, will be the current state, and the turn would be the other turn. So like if new state dot turn is equal to p1, then it would be new state dot turn is equal to p2, else it would be p1, and then we would return new state. All right. And else, like default would be turn state. Right. Okay, so this seems okay, I guess. And we can go for importing. Player reducer from player reducer. Oh, sorry. What we need as the key players. Player reducer. So I'm not bothered about the result right now. We would just make sure that this works okay. So what I would like to do at this point is, like, on the click of the also let's see the output. Player is not defined. Player is not defined. Player reducer. It would be definitely action dot player. So on the click of the square, draw X action is defined but never used. Where is it? Square.js. Yeah, we would do that. Let's now focus on square.jsx. You see here that I also check out the warnings and I try to solve those warnings as well. That'll be always ideal. Square.jsx. We would definitely, see what we can do in here. All right, so now when we do a draw, we would like to definitely dispatch the cell index, but at the same time we would also like to fire in the draw O action or draw X action based on whose turn is it currently. All right, so and then we would also like to dispatch that turn as well, so we'll see how that can be done. So now what I would like to do is I would like to get the state, and in which I would have the players, and from which I need this turn, or what turn it is, right? So we would like to go for, I would actually a const map state to props, which should be, or maybe we can just simply do I need players and turns. Okay. We would return turn to be state dot players dot turn. And we'd also do a map dispatch to props. That would be a a better approach anyways. In this scenario where we have two things to take care of, so so once this is done, we would like to we'd like to also pass in the current turn, so we would definitely have symbol index draw and turn. Turn, and we can take in p1 p state dot basically players, can go for p1 p2 and turn. Or I can simply go for the whole players object because I need the whole thing. So players yeah, that'll be ideal. So once that happens, I can go for players from props, and I can pass in players here as well. And then what I can do is I can dispatch draw O action, and then I can right away dispatch the toggle turn action. Right. So let's see, what actions do we have? Draw action would only be based on the turn, and also let's just see what are the actions. Toggle turn action. Yeah, that's what we can do here. We would cell index is fine. We would like to go for players as well here. Players. So if players dot turn is equal to p1, if that is the case, and inside of it we would like to go for if players.p1. This is actually something which I might not have pictured earlier, but anyways, let's go for it. Players.p1 x, then we can go for dispatch draw x action, to the cell index. I might have to come back to this to make this logic better. I would like to make it better than what it is right now. All right, so that else, which means if the turn is of p2, players.p2 is x. Yeah, actually I'll keep it this way for now, but after this happens I would right away draw or dispatch toggle turn action. Oh yeah, that can be done. Yeah, players turn, and we can get rid of the whole else entirely. I'm not going to go for the result based on what has been drawn or which player has drawn what, but I would eventually go for the result irrespective of that. I'll just go for the result through the symbols. So if it is the x, then draw x and then toggle turn. That has to work. Let's see what is happening. Yep, that works, but then the problem is like it is something that can be overridden. So what I would like to do is that this draw should not do anything if the current symbol is or if the index has some symbol in it. I would not like to, like the thing is that I would only be able to know if there is a board available over here, and I don't want the board to be available in the square. So I'd like to take a decision in the board itself whether the square is clickable or not, and I would like to represent that because I already have the board, like the properties that the board is and the symbol. If there is a symbol here, then the board or the square should not be clickable if there is a symbol already there on the screen. What do we want here is that if the current cell already has a symbol, then nothing should happen. I think at this point only the reducer can solve this for us. So I would go for the reducer and board reducer, and I would see if action cell index already has something, then don't do anything. That could only be the thing. And that would not modify anything. So if actions, if we get this, then it should be this, else it should be x, right? That is what it should be. And same thing for O. All right. Also, I would like to disable it. I'd like to disable the cell once the cell has some symbol. How do I do it? So class name cell has to be there, and I would also like, oh sorry, I would also like to have disabled based on whether there is a symbol or not. So right, and I would like to go for an index.css, color gray, and cursor not allowed. Can be done. So let's see. Disabled at hover goes for background be gray. I mean, we don't need to show any change in color as well. Background to be white, no change in color. It is disabled if there is any symbol, so const disabled is all right. Yeah, so this works while I don't want the color to be gray. Does nothing. Yep, that works. And then we can display certain other things based on which player's turn it is and all. On the board itself, we would like to go for the players. Board and players. All right, and we would also like to display stuff. Const players are who is right. yep, a fragment here. And what I would like to show in here is what player holds which symbol. So it would be something like another div can have a class name empty4 again, margin top 4, and div with a class can have all md4 and offset md4. That'll have this whole thing in the middle of this whole stuff. And we would like to then go for a strong tag player 1. The symbol is players.p1, and this whole thing goes inside the paragraph. Same thing for player 2. And we can go for another paragraph saying current turn, again a strong tag current turn player 1. So what we'll do is, if players dot turn is p1, we show player 1, else we show player 2. Yeah. Ooh, question mark. Let's see what we get. Probably an error. Let's see. Nope, no error. Let's just refresh. Okay, player 1 is X, current has to be player 2. Yep. Cool. Let's just test this a couple of more times. Oh, this doesn't look good. Let's just not do offset md4. And let's also not do call md4. Yeah. Okay, so player 1 X, player 2 O, current turn player 1. Then if I go for this, oh, this is, yeah, this is funny. This doesn't have to happen, right? We can, how do I manage that? That was the reason why I wanted not to do it in the reducer. I just don't want this to be clicked if there's already a symbol present in this current cell. I think it'll be like I think it'll be better to pass in the whole board here. Didn't want to do this, but so basically what happens here is, if there is we'll take in board as well. So if board cell index, right, if not board cell index, then only then do this. That would just oh, and toggle turn as well. That will just make sure that the funny toggling of turn doesn't happen. And I can go into the board reducer, take this off. This is what I actually wanted as far as the board reducer is concerned. I didn't want to do this anyways here. It's better that we make decisions of the UI through UI. If there is anything else, like if there is nothing inside this board, then I would go for this and toggle turn. Yeah, I think that should work. Board is not defined, which is line number 13 square.jsx. I would like to take board from this. All right. What else? Nothing. Okay. So player 1, X, player 2, O, turn, current turn, player 2, player 1, player 2, and if I keep on clicking, nothing happens. That's exactly what I wanted. Yep. All right, just go ahead and git add this. And is that the only thing that we have changed? I don't believe it. Git push or git add this, git improved store with current player status. Okay, so first I would like to go for the winning condition so that this whole system gets done as such. What we would like to do is first of all, I'd like to do something else on the board. I would like to create something called summary, and everything else, like all this goes in the summary actually. Or do we need players? No, this can easily be the summary. So I can actually create a new file, summary.jsx, and that would simply create the summary for us. So summary.jsx should just go for import React from React, and a function summary would have props, and it would return this div. It needs players from this session, so what we should do is we should go for const players props, and we should also go for the connect functionality. We don't need players in here, so I can get rid of this as well. And no players inside props. We've already done this through Redux, so we can get rid of that comment. And in the summary we can import connect from React Redux. Import connect from React Redux and export default connect. First argument would be players, and it would also give us the same thing, and we can have summary passed in as another argument. Summary should go like this, and then what we can do is we can just import summary inside this board, and that'll be better. So import from and we can go for calling it. All right. What do we have missing? No, nothing. Okay, there is some problem. No problem. Let's refresh. Yep, and that works. Current turn player 2. All right. And then we might later we might also bother about what styling do we keep in here. Maybe a badge. Do we do a badge? I don't know. If I go for a like some different color, let's see. See if we go for badges somewhere. I don't know if I do this, would I be able to see this as a badge or only the span tags? Let's see. Yep. And that's pretty much because we don't like, yeah, this is not a good idea. What we can do is, instead of doing that, we can go for a span here and a class name. You know, this would visually change things for us. That'll actually be better. Let's just have this in different lines though. So this would actually mean that we get, yep, player 1, current turn, player 2, and so there's no drastic visual difference. Let's see. Go for red and blue, that'll be better. Or red and green, I think. That's good. And we can have this current player displayed first with a lesser margin. What about colors? Or maybe we can just go for that'll be too much. Yeah, we just want we don't want. We just would do this, that'll be fine. Alright, so now what I'm trying to go for is the win calculation, and in that case there will be this new set of store, or this result store, that will be something that will come into the picture, the result key of the store. I would have to have more actions here. We might want to check the win, we might want to check if it's a draw. So checking of draw, checking of win, or maybe just check result. That could be something, an action called check result. So we would go for results action. This action would be dispatched, by the way. I can just get rid of the summary now, board as well. The action now would be dispatched on the click of draw. So basically on the click of this square, so draw, we can dispatch the respective action of checking the win. So we'd go for a new file, results action.js. So let's go for the action types first. I actually don't think that player 1 wins, player 2 wins would matter, because what we want is, we want the action type to say the player with X's win or the player with O wins, and then we might just figure out, okay, the symbol that wins, right? So basically win would be either X or O, and at that time draw would be false, else draw would be true. If win would be null, draw would be true at the end. So which symbol wins? Like symbol, like export const, the action type would be like X wins, Y wins, or draw. That would be what it is. Either X wins, Y wins, or yeah, so it'll be X wins, because which player wins is something that we can display in the summary based on whether it is X or Y. So X wins, Y wins, or it's a draw. Can be done. I can, like, I don't want to call it a draw because there is something already there. I'll just call it a tie. X wins, Y wins, and a tie. Results action first. Let's go for results action and then the reduce. So we just went for the action types. So I'd import all the action types here. Just a second. Yeah, so I would import all the action types here. So import X wins, Y wins, and a tie from helpers action types. And we would go for exporting the result. So export function, and this action would be check result. And how do we check result? We would like the board. So basically the square.jsx has this board passed in, right? So we would like to check result with the board. board in. And this check result is something that is going to be a very big or a very long function, because I'm not planning to go for a very complex logic. I'll just keep it simple, where if the board has multiple x's, then that particular thing wins, and so on. So what we would do is result helper.js would export default check if, oh, it will not export default, like export function check x wins board. So in here I'm just checking whether x wins or not, and I'll just return true or false. So when x wins, I would return true, else it will be false. So if board 0 1 2, so if board equal to x, and so this is the logic that I'm planning to go for. So this, and board 1 is equal to x, and board 2 if it equals to x. Right, if this is the case, then we can go for return true. All right, and we can do the same thing here, like 0 1 2, we can go for 3 4 5, and 6 7 8. Right, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. I can say check wins, check victory. You can go for a board and a symbol. All right, so that symbol and a board would be, that would be better. So symbol, what this would help me is I can just call this function twice. That would be enough. I don't have to rewrite the logic. That's it. I can call it with different symbols. So x and o, I can call it with both of them. So if that, and then so 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and then 0 3 6 1 4 7 2 5 8. Then it'll be 0 3 6 1 4 7 and 2 5 8. All right, and then diagonal. So what it would be is 0 4 8 or 2 4 6. So it'll be 0 4 8 or 2 4 6 or 6 4 2. Now if nothing of the above happens, return false. So if this symbol would be winning, it will return true, else it will return false. So that is why that's my check victory logic, and we can just have this imported here. helpers, result helper, and what we can do is check result. And I would just like to check now. I would just like to check if X wins or Y wins or it's a draw. That's it. So what I'll do is if check victory X, all right, and then the board. I'm passing in the board and the symbol. If X wins, then I would return the result where win, or where the type is X wins, and else if check victory, else if there is a check victory, return type Y wins, and I would also like to have Y as my symbol here. And if that is also not the case, then return type tie. Right. And then we'd have to have a reducer, so we'll go for a reducer. And it would be result reducer, I guess. Results reducer. Which would take in all these action types first. Function export function result reducer and state and action. The initial state that I want is win to be null and draw to be false, and then I would like to take a decision on that. So now case the state equal to initial state, all right, case switch we'd go for action dot type. If the case is X wins, then I would like to return what would I like to return? Win X and draw obviously false, right? If the case is Y wins, then I would like to return win Y and draw false. And if the case is tie, then I'd like to return win would be null and draw true. Well, actually tie true. I'd also change that here. Right. And this check win action, by the way, check result action would be dispatched on every click with board being passed in. All right, so once this happens, let's just get the index done, where I can go for result to be result reducer. That'll be auto imported. And we can have the result in the summary. We would have that result in the summary in a while. So what we would like to do is we would like to go for the check win, or maybe we can just have the result in the summary first. So let's go for the summary.jsx, And what we would do is we would like to get the result from the store, and we can also get the result here, result in here. So once we have the result, we would like to just like if result dot win, I guess win, let's see, yeah, win. So if result dot win is there, all right, if result dot win, or maybe we can just say result dot win is equal to x, then return div class name alert success empty2, and say we'd also like to see what player is X. So all right, so what I'll do is const I'd have to do this here only, because before that I don't know if result would be there or not, so we'll have to do it here only. So then player 1 else player 2. So what we would do here is player wins. And else if is O, then we can go for the same thing. Like so. So if this is the case and this is the case, then this, else it would be a draw. So else if result dot draw, or maybe this is not a good way to structure it. What we can do is if result dot draw is a more probable situation than this whole thing. Else if. So if result dot draw, then just say it's a tie. Oh, if result dot tie, info, it's a draw. And we don't like it. If nothing happens, if it's a draw, right, I think this should work. What do we have as an output? Result returned undefined during initialization. Okay. Oh, we didn't have the default. Okay, and I would definitely like to dispatch this check result action with the board in while clicking the square. So it's, where do I have to dispatch it is the question. Yeah, after this or before this, like after the draw has happened, that's when we have to dispatch it. So dispatch check result action. All right, as a function with a board in, and that should work. It's a draw right away. We don't need that. So probably what is happening here is that if I go for X, the draw right away, right? And that is because what could be the case? Check result. I think the check result is the thing. It's just okay. So result action. I would have to check victory only and only if all the members on the board is all the members are like filled, then and only then I'd have to dispatch this, right? So I don't have to go for dispatching this all the time. If everything in the board is not null, then I dispatch this, right? Or do I, or can I do something inside the check result itself? Well, actually no, I just make it isolated and only dispatch it once everything in the board is filled. So what I can do is I can go for a reduce function, like const check is equal to board dot reduce. It's a reduce function of the array, by the way, and it would have a function. You should have the previous value and the current value, so a and b can be there. And I would only return it. What I can do is return a and b. I think that would work. So if check, then dispatch. Okay, I might have to see what it is. Const or console.log check. Okay, null. We get null all the time, even when everything is filled in. You might have to check a and b in that case. Or we can do a filter function. I would go for this being a symbol. I'm not using symbol anywhere. So if and I would just say if symbol is null. Oh, I don't go for filter, right? I have to go for reduce. and I would just reduce this whole thing to 1. All right, I just want to check what it is. It's null all the way. Okay, reduce is not a good idea. I mean, reduce is the thing that we would do, but reduce is not a good idea. Let's do filter, and then what I can do is const check is equal to board filter, and we can go for a symbol, and I would only return the nulls. So what do I do is return I don't need to have the return statement. So what I do is return symbol equal to null. So if that is the case, then at the end there should be no check.lengths. And then we would dispatch the check result. Okay. All right. Let's see now. Nope, no result at all. Let's see. All I want to do is, like, when all the squares are filled at that point only, I would like to go for this. So it gives you null 8 7 6 5 4 3 2 1. This gives you 1. Do I have to check for 1? Moments. So it gives you the result. All right, it gives you at the end, so I don't want that as well. Here at this point we should have the result. Everything would be disabled, should be disabled. That should be it. And even if it's a draw, for example, so it's a draw. So that happens, but it only goes up till the end. So I think I'd have to do something in check result itself. I cannot do it in here. Right, I'd have to go for check result every time, and in here I'd have to do something of that sort. I might also just return nothing, like something temporary, like something temporary itself, right? So if all right, so we check victory. Okay, if x wins, else I would return this only if the board is, so I can apply the same logic. Let me just do that here. Just copy this and put it in here, and if check dot check dot length is equal to 1, then return this, else do nothing, and that will take care of itself if that is the case. Actions must be plain objects. Okay. All right, so we would like to then go for else return type random. Doesn't mean anything actually. We just don't want the condition to be matched. That's it. At the same time, actions must be plain objects, so that's okay. So I would like to have this. This should show xwins. Oh, again xy. Why do I do this? I don't know. Maybe it's all the axis that is coming in. Ovens should be there. Ovens. This is okay, and let's go to the reducer, result reducer. X and Y. All right, so let's now see what happens. Oh, okay. So it actually waits for the other player to complete the whole thing. You don't want to wait for the player to check victory, right? So what we do is, in the square we can just dispatch check result right at the start. Is that so? Oh, yeah, actually. Just check the result before the next player's turn. And it never works. Strange. What happens here is, the logic is, if I do this, the problem that I face is that if I click here and keep on clicking, and then player 1 wins, if it's a draw, I don't think it'll show you the message even, like it's a draw. Oh, yeah, it shows the message it's a draw, while it is not. I think this has to be... Let's see what we get in check. Oh, I'd have to invoke a draw in this case. Basically, it doesn't. So it's after the Yeah, we have to check win before anything happens here, so we can just try this. Or what if it's a draw? At this point, I think when it's a draw, we would not be able to see the draw. Okay, so that happens, that works. Pelage, it would be like first it is going for check results, right? It's going for the check results first. How come? Like before even this. Oh, okay. Before. Goes for check results. And okay, let's do this. Let's get rid of that. Go for board. Let's see what we get here. Or maybe after this dispatch we might have to call that. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so first we don't okay, so obviously we'd have to go for this. We don't get the board first, so this has to be it. Alright, so setting of the state is asynchronous indeed. Dispatching of the action doesn't guarantee that we have the state set. And that is the problem. This has to have a thunk action in that case. I don't want a thunk action. See, the problem is like we would not be able to, like if I go for async. Oh, sorry. What am I doing? A, S, Y, and C. Async. Go for a wait. I don't know if this would work. And go for it. Let's see whether this works. Nope, doesn't. That also has to be disabled, right? Nope. Let's get rid of that. I really don't want to dispatch or this is all okay. It's just that this draw O action has to dispatch the check victory. Which demands a thunk action, because these are asynchronous things. Toggle turn action while it works. Board doesn't work. Can we do a promise at this point? But yeah, if I go for a promise, it'll still have to be a thunk action, right? So I think only thunk action is the store changes are asynchronous, that means. So we'll go for thunk action then. So basically what I want is this draw X action and draw O action have to be thunk actions, which would dispatch the check result action. That is the only thing. All right. But I don't see the way it would help me, because if I dispatch this, then I draw this. Doesn't actually count. So I'd have to do something here itself, meaning in the square.jsx. So the only problem here is that the board is something that we don't get changed as soon as we do this. It's only when we go for this the board changes. So the only explanation to that is this dispatch. It's an asynchronous thing that is happening. But let's do this like draw X. Yeah, it is indeed what I believe. It's an asynchronous thing that is happening, and even going for yeah, that would not help actually. If I would be able to do something like .then dispatch check result, that would be better. For that, of course, I have to have a thunk action, and I have to return a promise. That would resolve. Okay, here we are going into a bit more of React, and that is the only way that I can imagine right now. Maybe it's the fact that I have been programming since the last 3 or 4 hours is also something that might be taking the toll of me, but this is the only thing that I can imagine right now. So let's go for that. Let's go for adding a Redux thunk. So Alright, Redux thunk would give me thunk actions that I would like to go for. I'd like to change those other actions into thunk actions. and then check result can be called in our view. That'll be also something that can be done. Let's wait for this to get installed. Waiting, get this installed. All right. And let's apply Redux Thunk as a middleware. I actually didn't want to use Redux Thunk, but I don't think there's any other choice. Let's go for apply middleware, and we'd apply Redux Thunk as our middleware. Alright, so I don't think this should actually cause us any problems as far as the current UI is concerned. The only thing is, like, we get these things not in the specific sequence that we would like to go for. Alright, so now what we do is I would go into the not the result action, but the board actions where we are drawing X and drawing Y. This has to return us a promise which would always resolve. All right, so I would return a new promise which would always resolve. So just a sec. How do I do is, like, I would dispatch another action, and this has to be a thunk action first off. So return dispatch, and this would return a new promise which would have resolve and reject. Actually, we don't need reject. This promise would dispatch this draw X action, and it would resolve. All right, and then we'd do the same thing for draw Y action, or maybe we can just start. Why am I calling it draw Y? It's draw. Oh man. So everything would be the same. It'll just be draw O action, and then it'll resolve. So when that happens, I don't think there'll be any changes. I believe I can even do this, and that'll be fine. But I can go into the square. What would What would be the difference is that I would be able to do this, like draw, and let's say check result. Check result would be a function that'll take in board as a parameter, and it would check the result. So we would like to check result board. Also, I would like to separately go for a toggle turn. That is actually a better approach now that I see it. So I just got carried away, toggle turn and all those dispatches in one place. It should be that each and every map dispatch to props property should just do one dispatch. That will be a better way, that now that I think of it. All right, so now once this is done, we can go for draw, which would be returning this. Either way, either returning this or that. And then we go for check result and toggle turn. Then we go for check result and toggle turn. So yeah, so draw would not get board. Oh, board has to be there. But draw dot then would be possible now, which would be a function that would toggle turn and check result. With board passed in. And we can go for toggle turn and check result here from props. All right. And I'm passing the same board in here. That's the problem. Yeah, but what do I do in this case? Board, and then I'm going for the same board, getting the updated one. I believe that is the problem. I didn't have to do thunk, but all I had to do was to get the updated board. I think I can do it in another way. Let's keep it as it is. I don't think this thunk was required anyways, but I can do it in another way. What I would be able to do is I can get this check result out of the way, and I can get this out of the way, and I can go into the summary. All right, so summary here is already this. All right, and Hmm. And do a check result here itself, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, but I don't get the board in here, right? Can get the board though. I get the entire state here. All right. Right, I think I should be able to do this. All right, module not found. Let's just go for okay. Unless it keeps on re-rendering. Yeah, it doesn't. Yep, it does. Okay, summary, yep, maximum. Yep, it keeps on re-rendering. The thing is, like when I check result, the state changes, and so if what do we do is, like, if not result dot win or result dot tie, should I be able to do this? I think I would be able to. Still maximum depth exceeded, and that is because it is just keeping on recurring, and it is changing the state. As a result, this is changing, so I just have to make sure that I have to call this not result.win or result.tie. Okay, yep, that works. All right, That works very good. Okay. Now I would like to go for a draw. It's a draw. No, it's not. Okay, it's not a draw. Why did it check the result right now? Oh. Oh. Okay, so what I have to do is, if not this, equal to null, and yeah, I might have to check this condition. This is all okay. This condition is okay. The only thing is like result.win. Okay, so I'd have to just reshuffle this, like, or result.win. It is a very smart OR operator, so result.win. All right, let's see. Let's see what happens. So yeah, this is the initial thing, and I might just want to go for taking off this check result from square. Let's just get that out. Check result is never used. Can be removed. So clearly thunk is not required here. All right. And player 2 wins, so that is fine. Now it'll give me it's a draw. And why would it do that? Alright, so this is the summary, and this is what it is by default. If I do this, it would render twice because of only one change. Why would it render twice? Why is it rendering twice? Why is it rendering twice? Probably because board changes and players changes. Yes, that's the problem. I'm not using board here as well. Oh yeah, I am using it here. Okay, I can live with that. The player one wins, that's fine. Right, this, 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 and when I click on this, it would go for the else portion, which is when I click on this, it'll check result. Why is... Alright, let's do one thing. Where is this check result happening other than... Okay, so check result happens, and what does check result do is it dispatches the result action and it checks the victory, and oh, because of this, I guess. Alright, so this should work. This is my logic, some logical error that I caused actually. And that should work now. Okay, good. Player one wins. You can go for player one wins. I would also like to go for a draw at the end, or maybe first like player two wins, maybe. Yep, player two wins, and a draw at the end. Oh, it's player one wins, right? Okay, let's play it through player by player. It's a draw, yes. Whew. So the thing is, thunk was not required, and this actually worked. So I would not change this one, but what you can do is you can actually add so many functionalities to it. Like routing can be added, where the player first can select their symbols and then come to this page, and then the whole thing turns around. There should be a reset button so that we can reset the game anytime we want to. There can be one feature added more to this, like if for example anything like player one wins, then no one should be able to do this. All right, because player one has won. So that is one thing that you can do. So these are the three things that are something that can be done. I would leave it up to you. If you need, I would have other videos explaining how routing can be established in this scenario and the rest of the conditions and all. We can do it together. So do let me know in the comments section if anything, if any explanation that you require in here or anything like that. We would definitely like to, take this forward. So I would comment at the end. I would just, I'd just commit this whole thing. Git add commit winning condition done and shown in summary. All right, and then we can go for git push. All right, guys, so basically this is what it is. I hope you liked it. Thank you. Bye-bye.